Hey, what is up everyone? Welcome back to another review, and I'm working my way through that backlog one kit at a time, and this kit right here is the high-grade Gundam DouO Riser and GN Sword 3. So this one's been around for a while. Of course it is from Gundam DouO, and this kit was made in 2009. Now there is a blue logo on this, so it does mean it is a reprint of one form or another, but yeah, if you're looking to grab one of these of your own, it came out quite a while ago. I got mine through Bye. You can too. Link is down there in the description. Now let's get it built. Alright, here we go with the box. I'm actually kind of shocked at this point that I've never built a high-grade Gundam DouO. I guess I started with the master grade, so I felt I never really needed to. And any DouO I've built has been like based on the, well, on this kit, but it's been the DouO Diver Ace, and that's had some dodgy little ankle armor, so I wonder if it's going to be the same as this one. So first off, a little quick look at the manual. Here it is right here. I feel like this has been, or the DouO manuals were the kind of archetype for the modern manuals. A little front and back illustration of the mobile suit right there, as well as the GN Sword 3, one of the coolest Gundam weapons of all time. Around the back we've got Reborn's Gundam up there. A high grade I no longer have that I actually need to get again, and there is a bunch of information as usual, and the color guide if you want to paint the kit the color it's meant to be, all in Japanese as this is pre-translations to English. Inside of that, then we've got a bunch more information about the mobile suit, always nice to have. There is the list of the runners, 6 not including the polycaps, and a little blade section. So a simple high grade from simpler high grade times. Inside the box, we've got a whole bunch of colorful plastic. That is a chubby bag. That bag is absolutely packed. Okay, that's a fat bag right there. There we've got another bag. Guess what? Another bag and another bag. There's actually quite a bit of plastic, even though there's only a few runners. They're well-packed runners. Alright, so if there's anything worth mentioning in here, we do have a multicolored A runner. The clear parts, as usual, in these particular high-grade kits are just in clear. I think in the master grades and whatnot, they're green. Personally, I do prefer that, but if you do like to paint and customize your kits, this means you can use translucent colors of your choice. However, this is not the case with the GN Riser because we do have a colorful clear part here, which is in orange. The stand is like a runnerless stand that we do see nowadays, but I guess this was the precursor because it comes on the runner, included with the kit. Always nice to get a stand though. This is a classic high-grade polycap build, and we do have a second runner of polycaps in here, probably for the O Riser. And as far as I know, what makes this any different from the standard Gundam DouO Riser high-grade kit, which there may not be, I'm not actually sure, but is these two runners right here. So that is everything that makes up the GN Sword 3. The color correcting stickers in here are a little bit on the rough side. Of course, all the ones that go inside the GN condensers aren't so bad. The eyes on this kit aren't reflective, but that seems to be a thing with the Gundam DouO kits. They're more like a kind of milky green. And then here we've got a lot of color correcting gray, and I doubt I'm going to be using really any of that at all. Last up then, and these might be a little bit on the hard side to see, but we do have some Celestial Being decals. So they look like that. I'll probably throw one of those on just to check out what it does look like. So just trying to blast through the build today and not to spend too much time on it. First off, we've got the legs. This is quite simple, but we do have a nice kind of double bend which moves the knee. The ankle is very, very simple, but has a nice side-to-side in it. When it comes to the build-up of the leg, it is very old school and very simple. The foot itself is just made out of 2 parts with a polycap in between, and then the joint attaches into it. Actually, polycaps play a huge role in this kit. So far, I feel like I'm spending more time pushing polycaps onto pieces than really doing a whole lot else. Everything is just the color it needs to be, so white of the armored sections like the lower leg, gray for the knee section, and then armor pops on over that. We do have a sticker in here for the GN condenser, just pops onto the side, simply like that. A clear piece goes over it, and then the final buildup of the leg is just the hip joint, the leg itself, and the foot attaches on. So anyway, this right here is the hip unit. I keep forgetting that the DouO Riser has this funny ball joint attached on front skirting that kind of moves around like that. It was an interesting design. The side skirtings are on those tiny little kind of polycap ball joints, and the rear skirting is locked in position, but it's not really something that would get in the way very much. Attaching the legs on involve popping them onto one of these little kind of hip sections, so that does mean the only movement inside the hips is rotation. And there's only a little bit of that. Anyway, that pops up in there like so, and that right there is the waist. So as for the build of that, it's very, very simple. So polycap into the main body of this unit, then you build the front skirting made out of 2 pieces, the rear skirting also made out of 2 pieces. They attach onto the central unit, and that's pretty much all there is. There's 2 side skirtings as well, which is just a single piece attached to a polycap ball joint. So that right there is the torso. This is one of those kind of old style torsos there's not much to. Even though there is a polycap in the actual waist of this, it doesn't move around at all. The shoulders are in line to move to the front like so, and again, quite simple. When it does come to the build-up of this, there's a little grey piece of colour separation in the main body, which is sandwiched between 2 big blue parts. We do have polycaps for the shoulders, some yellow colour separation and white on the front built up onto that. The backpack is just 1 piece with 2 polycaps inside of it that slaps onto the back, and the waist section comes in from underneath, again, 1 piece, 1 polycap. So yeah, even though this does have 2 polycap joints at its waist, if I recall correctly from the DouO Diver Ace, actually, that, it's definitely not the worst, actually. Never mind, that's kind of okay. So next up in here onto the arms, and this is what we get. So we've got movement up here, full rotation 2. The bend is a single joint, but it has this little bit of a shift from a polycap as well. And same with the wrist, that does have a bit of a polycap shift aspect to it as well. So even though not a lot going on here, we do have some decent articulation. As for the build, it's pretty much what we would have seen before. So it's just a polycap holding the elbow joint together. Again, it's just polycaps between parts like in the forearm, up in the shoulder as well. We do have some stickers for both of the GN condensers in here. I do have 1 loose piece, actually 2 so far, I might mention a little bit later on. And then the rest of the arm just builds up like this, this, and this. Simple. And it's just simple ball joints in there like that. Honestly, if I had the time with this kit, I would do one thing, and that is paint the ball joints on this grey, as well as the little peg in there, because I do find just the kind of blue plastic going in there looks a little non-mechanical, and sometimes that definitely makes it look a little bit nicer. So finally, when it comes to the actual mecha itself, is the head. This is it right here. This is sticker hell. Sticker there, sticker for the eyes, sticker on that. The actual yellow for the V-fin is meant to be stickers too, man. Yeah, it's a bit crazy. But yeah, basically the assembly here is you have to stick stickers to the front and back of a clear section. That's the eyes and rear sensor on the back of the head. Then onto the muzzle section, you have to attach a sticker onto either or side. Attach on both bits of plastic on the sides. Clear pieces go on the side over the stickers in there. And then you clip a bit onto the back, the V-fin goes on. And then it's more stickers and a clear part. So next up, we've got the GN drives up on the shoulder. So you just throw a polycap in there on with the drive, and then you just finish that all off by popping in that, followed by that, and then exactly the same on the other side, just like so. So onto the rest of the equipment. So last up now, building the equipment. First up is the GN Sword 3. This is very, very nice. The clear effect part looks great, sandwiched between 2 white pieces of plastic, and then you build up all the little rig section around it, which allows it to move around. We've got a beam gun up top, blade down bottom, and it all builds together very, very nice. And when it's finished, can swing up like so. What a beautiful Gundam weapon. Next up, we've got the 2 GN swords. These just pop together in the usual old way. We do have a lack of color separation on the center of the clear part, but they build up easily, simply. We've got all the colors on here, and for the most part, they look nice besides the lack of color separation on the clear. Next up in here, you've got the all-riser itself, which builds up as a whole bunch of parts that eventually lock together. We've got the moving mechanisms inside of it. The tail end pops on. We've got multiple color layers to the cockpit area, very nicely designed. And this then attaches into the rear section just like so, with a nice little bit of articulation in it, and we do have a nice color separated orange cockpit. There is a lot of cutting out, snipping, and cleaning up to this. There's a lot of parts. You build up the wing binder units. Even though most things are just 2 parts in a polycap like we've seen with the rest of the kit, it does build up with a lot of nice detail and color separation. None of the modern stuff like parts layering through each other or anything like that. It is quite simple, but when you do finally get it all put together, it does work out quite well. I did notice the wings do seem a little bit on the loose side. They may need a bit of tightening up, but I'm not sure just yet. Finally, we've got the shields. They both build up the same, 3 pieces a pop. And finally then we've got the stand that is made out of 3 pieces and attaches together just like so. Now in to the review. So now jumping on into the aesthetics, and there is the high-grade Gundam DouO riser finish. This is without the old riser just yet, but there it is in all of its glory. Now I will mention this is definitely a dated-ish kit, but it's not really all that bad. While building it up, it could have been a little bit more entertaining than it was, but it's better in the end than the sum of its parts, surprisingly. Now for me, the place that I feel like kind of suffers the most is the fact that the white does look completely washed out. This kit is in a very gloss white, which is nice in its own right, but there isn't really any kind of low lights or anything like that to break it up. Of course, this would look a whole lot better if it was panel lined, and in general, older kits do tend to benefit a little bit more from panel lining because they don't really have as much actual detail on them. A lot of it is molded, so if I had the time I would have done that, and that's definitely a recommendation. The GN condensers are definitely a little bit on the plain side compared to some other offerings of the Gundam DouO. They're not the worst, it's just fairly basic stickers inside of clear parts for the most part, but it still works out decently well. The kind of curve to the clear part does make it look almost a little bit holographic, so it does look, well, not too bad. The only actual part of the kit that I feel suffers a little bit from the stickers is the head. Now, I haven't used the yellow ones on the V-fin because I thought it would look a little bit better in white than with stickers wrapped around them. The sticker underneath the crest on the V-fin isn't too bad. It does actually look interesting enough when the light hits it. And we do have some nice molded detail in the face muzzle, so overall, it's really not that bad. Throwing it into the full 360-degree spin now, and like I said, this is better than the sum of its parts. It will definitely need some panel lining, a little bit of detailing up here and there, especially like underneath the GN drives. That looks like it should be in a little bit of a grey, but if you masked it off well, you could do that in one quick spray. But besides all of those kind of little minor niggly woes that are just kind of a sign of the times and the age of the kit, the overall look is absolutely good. It's great even. The proportions are great, the overall style is nice, the foundation is there for an absolutely fantastic high grade. It's just out of box, it is mildly plain, and does show its age a little bit, but not that much. The colors are vivid, the color separation for the most part is pretty fantastic, and on the whole, very, very nice. I will also mention, while I was building it, I did feel like, I was getting nubs all over the place. I was single nipping a lot of it. And yeah, there really isn't too much in the end. At least ones that you can't really notice too much. Like, there's some on the blue does mark up a little bit, but even modern kits do nub that kind of way on blue plastic. You really have to take your time with that, nub them from a distance and file them off. But overall, not too bad at all. Honestly, I thought it looked a little bit worse than it is while building, than it actually turned out in the end. Not bad. So finally jumping into some size comparisons, there it is side by side with two standard size Gundams, the Revive RX-78-2 on the left and the Revive Mark II on the right. Next up there it is beside two Setsuna suits, that being the Exi on the left and the high grade Quanta on the right. Finally then, two random kits off the shelf, just picked completely at random. On the left we've got Altron, and on the other side then, of course, that's the Infinite Justice 2. So jump now into the accessories, and here's the high-grade DouO Riser GN Sword 3 with absolutely everything that comes with it. And man, could they cram a lot into a box back in 2009. So basically, we've got the O Riser, GN Sword 3, the beam effect for using with it, 2 beam sabers, 2 GN swords with beam effects for those, the double shield, some adapters, a widespread left hand, as well as a stand included. Honestly, that right there is an incredible spread of accessories. Now, I won't be able to go through absolutely everything and what they can do because it is backlog burst in time, so I'm just going to be setting up the Gundam DouO. So yeah, in order to get that backlog destroyed, I'm going to go through this pretty quickly. So I'm just going to be adding on the things that I want on it, so we're going to be starting off with the hands. First off, when it does come to the hands in here, we've got a standard pair of holding hands. They're fairly generic. They pop out in the usual way. And the alternate hand we have in here is this one. So it is a widespread hand, and that's always nice to have included. It's a very nice one at that as well. Again, an impressive kit so far. Next up in here we have a stand. This is basically, I think, predominantly for holding on to the DouO Riser, or should I say the O Riser. Slapping the O Riser onto it, this is what we get. It holds it at a nice kind of ascending angle, and overall this does look very, very nice. The colors in here are ridiculously vivid. This looks so nice. Again, it is a little bit plain in some regards, but you definitely need some panel lining up. The panel lines are there. There's quite a few even in the cockpit too, and that will definitely break up all of that sea of white and blue. Now, I do have one issue with this, and out of box, it's this. And this tends to be, for me, the issue with this kit in general, and that is there is quite a few loose parts. Even just bringing the DouO back into the equation right here, I've lost this. It's popped out twice on me, and this one circular aspect, this one GN condenser in that arm, did pop out as well, but this upper bicep armor section seems to be holding it in for now, but it could go missing. So yeah, you could have the Double O riser as just a flight unit on its own, but I'm not going to be using that, so the kind of weak attachment on the wings isn't such a big deal. So you just fold it up a bit like a prawn like this right here. And in order to get it onto the Double O, it just pops into the backpack right here. So that is very, very simple, and that holds on very, very nicely. So now it is getting a little bit back heavy. I'm going to try out the included stand here, but it's not what I'm going to keep using. Oh, we do have a bit of a privacy protector on the bottom right there, so you can't see the Double O's hole. That just sticks in like so. And actually, this isn't too bad. If you do want this just for display, it holds it at an absolutely perfect. Ah, there, see, this is loose. I'm gonna cement that right in right now. Just gonna take a little bit of Tamiya cement, the normal stuff. The extra thin is a bit too messy for this kind of job. Gonna pop a little bit on this. The thickness kind of helps keep it in position so it doesn't flow all over the place like the extra thin would. And this then just gonna get it on in there. Just like that, and that shouldn't go AWOL ever again. So before I attach these binders onto the shoulders, I will mention if you take the included shield in here, crack it in half, you do have the option of popping these up here. There's so many kind of loadout options with the Double O, it is crazy. It's one of my favorite suits, most definitely. Anyway, to attach these on, you can just flip this little section out like so. That jams into both the drive and the shoulder, and it attaches on just like so for that very iconic Gundam DouO look. Exactly the same then on the other side, just get that in there and that holds on pretty tight. Overall, this is a strong feeling kit, and I'll underline this next little bit of a sentence, for now, as far as I know it will be. Next up in here, we've got the pair of GN swords. I've never once equipped these into the hand of a Double O before because I always use the GN Sword 3. These can also be converted to a little bit of a shooting mode by just moving them around like so. They are not color accurate in the middle of that little race section in the clear part. That is meant to be in gray, so you either have to use the included stickers or paint that little bit yourself. These can be stored on the side skirtings by just popping them into this little circular aspect right here if you want this loaded up with a ton of weapons, but for me I feel it kind of interferes with the Double O silhouette, so I tend to not really use these ever. And onto the list of things I'm not too inclined to really use, well, as in a certain way I should say. I don't usually use the shield as a shield. Again, I find it gets slightly in the way. But just for the sake of example, these attach end to end. It's a simple mechanism, but it does the job. We've got an adapter segment which attaches into the center, just like that. And that then can just pop into the back of the arm, just like so. It is an extremely nice design of a shield, but I prefer to just pop it up on the shoulders. And in order to do that, you actually just flip this down ever so slightly, and then these can just attach on up there, just like so. Actually, were these always that bulky up there? It's a little more bulky than I remember. Anyway, there we go. I almost forgot we do have an adapter segment in here. You basically use that instead of these pieces, and they attach onto the GN swords like that, and like that at the other end. And then we've got two of these effect parts which just slide on down into the rifle shooty aspects of those like so, to give us this extremely long glaive. It is a little bit wiggly in the middle, but still, that's well, it's always a pretty cool option to have a big old glaive. Next up in here, we do have a pair of beam sabers. Attaching them into the hand is the usual way. It just slides on in like so, and they look normal enough, like that. Last up in here then, we've got the GN Sword 3, which is like the beefed up, awesome version of an already awesome weapon, which was Exia's GN Sword. So this does have a blade that swings down like so out of the way. So we do have the long range weapon up top there. This moves like so, locks into position for when this does swing up into sword mode. But there's also that cool tonfa style as well. As for getting this attached on, it just slots on into the hand like so, and also kind of clamps onto the arm a little bit. Lost a shield there. This then moves back like so and can pin into the back of the arm, so tonfa mode is always kind of the best option for the blade. Again, swung back, it looks like that right there. Again, an incredibly cool weapon. So yeah, with this pretty badass weapon, once again, there is the beam rifle mode like so, swings forward like this for the kind of tonfa style blade mode, and then finally it can kind of disconnect from the arm like so, and swing up into an actual sword. It does lock in like that, so it can be held upwards, but it kind of struggles a little bit with staying in position. So tonfa mode all the way. Man, I absolutely almost forgot. We do get this big piece too as well, so you just kind of grab this and slot it on over the blade just like so for an even bigger, redder beam. Alright, so finally onto the articulation, and first off, the comment on the build on this. This is rock solid. Again, this is an older kit, so if you have one, drop in the comments how yours is holding up. But there's one thing I've always kind of noticed with, I don't know if it's this whole line, but definitely Gundam DouO itself. So the plastic on this apparently is polystyrene, but it feels like ABS. So it's a very rubbery kind of plastic that's attaching to the joints. This plays a lot better with polycaps and doesn't tend to be as loose in them as what you see with, you know, the kind of standard, more smooth, buttery plastic you see on other high grades. So it kind of works out incredibly well. This is an interesting kit. Anyway, the usual pose. So getting this into a pose is incredibly fluid. Again, all of the joints are probably the same tension, so nothing kind of moves on you when you don't want it to. It flows nicely. It's got a rubbery-esqueness to it, so it feels like it holds position, but at the same time there's nothing kind of annoying about it. All the joints do work well, even if they are a bit on the simple side, and in the end what you get you cannot complain about. For a 2009 kit, this is phenomenal. I'm not kind of getting the issues I had with the DouO Diver Ace, but, you know, only time will really tell. This is fresh out of box, but fresh out of box, it's impressive. So anyway, that right there is it for the review, and I'm actually surprised. This is aged like fine wine. Building it up kind of isn't that fun, there's a lot of stickers, but when it's actually finished you don't notice those sort of aspects too much. It is definitely a kit that is better than the sum of its parts, and even now I would still say it's a gold tier kit. Now, it doesn't do anything particularly new, of course, it is not a new kit at all. This has existed for the last 15 years, but this must have blown minds back in 2009. It's a very nice kit. I've had zero issues with it whatsoever. Well, no real issues. There's a couple of loose parts I had to glue apart in. It could do with a little bit of detailing up, but besides that, it is quite nice. Feels stiff out of box. Again, drop in the comments if yours has loosened up. I want to know. But yeah, I'm impressed. It's very, very nice, and maybe, just maybe, out of the three that I've built, being the Exia, this, and the Quanta, this one might be my favorite. The Quanta is a great kit though, but it's hard to deny the majesty of the Gundam DouO, and all those accessories are pretty cool. Again, a couple of loose fits here and there, easy to tighten up. Anyway, I got mine through Buy, so if you want one of your own, link is down there in the description. As always, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Once again, I kind of finished this video right here without special thanks to the channel members and the patrons over on Patreon, including Simon Paskin, Abraxas, Caleb Engelhart, Joe, RG59061, ShadowWolf179, Van Fawn, and Scotty Thomas.